Unstoppable people aren't superhuman. They don't come from another planet, and they weren't handed some magic formula that you don't have. They are made of the same flesh, bone, and blood as you. The only difference is this: they built a mental armor that doesn't crack under pressure. When fear comes knocking, most people shrink, but the unstoppable lean forward. They treat fear like a signal, a compass pointing them toward growth instead of a wall meant to stop them. When life throws rejection, betrayal, or failure at them, they don't sit there drowning in self-pity. They get up, dust themselves off, and go again. Harder, sharper, more prepared. That's why they look unshakable. It's not because life was easier for them, but because they made a decision to think differently when things got harder. Every excuse you've ever told yourself, every reason you've given for not pushing forward, someone else has lived through the same situation and still found a way. That's the mindset shift that separates the average from the unstoppable. They don't waste time waiting for permission, waiting for the perfect timing, or waiting for the fear to disappear. They act in spite of it. Where one person quits because the process is uncomfortable, they lean in and let discomfort refine them. They understand that excuses are cheap and discipline is priceless. Unstoppable people refuse to outsource their worth to the approval of others. They are not chasing applause, validation, or likes. They don't crumble when criticized, and they don't slow down when ignored. Their drive is rooted in values, not opinions. When the world tries to pull them back into conformity, they break the mold and set their own standard. They know that chasing approval is another form of being controlled, and they refuse to live on anyone else's leash. And here's the truth no one wants to admit: comfort is the silent killer of ambition. Most people want easy, predictable, and safe. But unstoppable people crave growth more than comfort. They seek out the hard conversations, the challenging goals, the painful lessons, because they know greatness is built where comfort dies. Every day they choose the path that sharpens them, and that's why they keep rising while everyone else stalls. Your life will always rise to the level of your mindset. If you think weak, you will live weak. If you train your mind to withstand pressure, you'll outlast everyone around you. That's the real difference. It's not luck, it's not talent, it's not connections, it's mindset. And the question that matters right now is not whether you want to be unstoppable, it's whether you're ready to rewire the way you think, act, and fight, so nothing and no one can ever break you. Fear is one of the most powerful forces in the human mind, but what makes the unstoppable different is not that they don't feel it. It's that they refuse to hand over the steering wheel. Most people allow fear to dictate their choices, to silence their voice, and to shrink their potential. Fear whispers that you're not ready, that you'll embarrass yourself, that you'll fail, so people stay small because it feels safer. But the truth is, fear is nothing more than information. It's your system alerting you that you're stepping into the unknown, into territory that could stretch you. The unstoppable know this, and they reframe fear into fuel. Instead of letting it freeze them, they let it sharpen their awareness, heighten their instincts, and push them into action. Think about it: every single person you admire, every leader, every fighter, every survivor, they all felt fear. The difference is they didn't bow to it. They saw it for what it was: data. Data that says you're about to level up. You're about to grow. Weak minds treat fear like a red light. Strong minds see it as a green light. That's the mental rewiring it takes to break free from the invisible prison that keeps most people average. Fear will always show up at the edge of anything worthwhile. It will sit in your chest before a bold decision. It will whisper in your ear when you're about to speak up. It will try to chain you down when you're chasing something beyond your comfort zone. But here's the secret: the only way fear loses its power is when you move anyway. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's action despite it. The unstoppable act while afraid, and in doing so, they strip fear of its control. Most people wait for fear to vanish before they move, but that day never comes. They spend years waiting to feel ready when ready is a myth. The unstoppable don't wait, they strike. They take the stage trembling, they make the move uncertain, they step into the fight with their heart pounding, and every time they do, they prove to themselves that fear is just noise, not truth. That's how resilience is built, not by avoiding fear, but by confronting it until it bends to you. If you live your life running from fear, you'll also run from growth, from opportunities, from the very experiences that could have shaped you into the person you were meant to be. But when you stop letting fear command your choices, you unlock a kind of power that few people will ever touch. You stop living like prey and start moving like a predator, calm, sharp, intentional. Fear doesn't go away, but it no longer drives the car. And that's when you realize the truth. Fear was never there to stop you, it was there to reveal how badly you wanted it. Every person who has ever achieved greatness has one thing in common. They face defeat and refuse to call it the end. What makes the unstoppable different is how they interpret failure. For most, a setback feels like proof that they are not good enough, smart enough, or strong enough. It becomes a reason to quit, to retreat back into safety, to tell themselves that they tried and it wasn't meant to be. But unstoppable people don't see it that way. To them, failure is rehearsal. Every rejection, every mistake, every door that slams in their face is just another round of training. It's not a verdict on who they are. It's preparation for who they are becoming. Think of a fighter in the gym. They don't walk into the ring expecting to win every single spar. They get hit, they get knocked down, they gas out, but every blow teaches them something. Every stumble is another note for the next round. That's how an unstoppable mindset works. They take the sting of failure and translate it into strength, skill, and strategy. Each setback becomes a blueprint for improvement. Instead of saying, "I failed," they ask, "What did this teach me? How do I come back sharper?" That shift turns what could have broken them into the very thing that makes them stronger. The truth is, people who avoid failure at all costs end up avoiding growth. They play it safe, stick to what they know, and never test the limits of their ability. But unstoppable people lean into failure because they know it's the fastest way to build resilience. They're not humiliated by loss. They're educated by it. They treat every rejection as feedback, every betrayal as insight, every defeat as conditioning. That's why they rise while others stay stuck. It's not easy to reframe pain as practice. When you lose, when you fall flat, when life humiliates you, the natural instinct is to hide. But hiding kills your momentum. The unstoppable don't hide. They study the moment. They dissect what went wrong and what went right. They don't bury their mistakes, they mine them for lessons. And because of that, their setbacks become stepping stones. What others call failure, they call rehearsal for the bigger stage. You can't build strength in comfort, and you can't build mastery without repetition. Every rehearsal, no matter how messy, prepares you for the real performance. That's why unstoppable people aren't afraid of looking foolish or starting over. They understand that every fall forward brings them closer to the version of themselves that can't be shaken. And while the average person lets failure write their ending, the unstoppable rewrite the story with every setback, proving that nothing has the power to define them except the mindset they choose. Most people live at the mercy of their emotions. They wake up and decide their entire day based on how they feel in that moment. If they feel tired, they skip the workout. If they feel discouraged, they put off the work. If they feel insecure, they stay silent when they should speak up. That's the trap emotions set. They convince you that comfort now is more important than progress later. But the unstoppable don't fall into that trap. They understand that emotions are temporary, unreliable, and constantly shifting. while discipline is stable, predictable, and powerful. Discipline is what carries you when motivation disappears. It's what forces you forward when your feelings scream for you to stop. Motivation can light a spark, but it never sustains the fire. You can't build your life waiting for inspiration to show up, because it never comes when you need it most. The unstoppable build routines and systems that take the guesswork out of action. They don't ask themselves if they feel like training, working, or pushing harder. They show up because it's what they decided long before the moment of weakness arrived. They've already made the choice, and discipline enforces it. That's why they move forward regardless of the weather, regardless of how drained they are, regardless of who is watching. They aren't controlled by moods, they are controlled by commitment. This doesn't mean emotions don't matter. It means they don't get to decide the outcome. Everyone feels tired, stressed, unmotivated, or anxious. But where most people give in and justify their inaction, the unstoppable use discipline to override those signals. They may be exhausted, but they still complete the mission. They may be uncertain, but they still take the step. That's how they build consistency, and consistency is the secret weapon no one wants to hear about because it requires hard, daily choices. The truth is that discipline frees you. When you operate with discipline, you no longer depend on fleeting moods. You stop asking yourself, "Do I feel like it today?" and start living with the clarity of, "This is who I am and this is what I do." And over time, this repetition wires your mind to embrace pressure instead of running from it. What once felt difficult becomes automatic. What once drained you becomes part of your identity. That's when discipline stops feeling like punishment and starts feeling like power. If you want to be unstoppable, you must learn to master yourself before the world can break you. That mastery comes through choosing discipline over emotion again and again until it becomes second nature. Every day you enforce structure. Every day you keep your promises to yourself. You take control away from weakness and hand it to strength. And when others are swayed back and forth by their feelings, you keep moving like a force that cannot be stopped, because you've built the habit of action regardless of emotion. That is the mindset that separates the ordinary from the extraordinary. One of the hardest chains to break is the need to be liked, to be accepted, to be validated by the people around you. From the time we are children, we are conditioned to seek approval, whether it's from parents, teachers, friends, or later on, colleagues and society. We learn to measure our worth by how many compliments we receive, how many people clap for us, how many friends stand beside us. But here's the truth. As long as you are living for approval, you are not living for yourself. You are trapped in a prison of other people's opinions, constantly bending and shifting to fit into molds that were never meant for you. The unstoppable mindset cuts that chain. It chooses values over validation, purpose over popularity, and truth over applause. When you chase approval, you hand your power away. Your decisions stop being yours. You start editing yourself, toning down your strength so you don't intimidate anyone, hiding your brilliance so no one feels insecure, silencing your voice so you don't rock the boat. You end up shrinking just to make others comfortable. That's how powerful the hunger for approval can be. It convinces you to betray yourself in order to be accepted. But unstoppable people refuse to play that game. They don't water themselves down, they don't apologize for being strong, and they don't wait for someone else to give them permission to be who they are. It's not that they don't hear criticism or feel the sting of rejection. It's that they don't let those things define their identity. Rejection may hurt for a moment, but it doesn't rewrite their path. Criticism may highlight a weakness, but it doesn't erase their worth. They know who they are, what they stand for, and where they're going. That unshakable core is what makes them immune to outside noise. People can label them, attack them, misunderstand them, and still they keep moving because their compass isn't set by external approval, it's set by internal conviction. The need for approval is also dangerous because it makes you easy to control. When someone knows you crave acceptance, they can manipulate you, withhold validation to keep you chasing, or dangle compliments like bait to influence your decisions. But when you detach from approval, you become untouchable. No one can use validation to control you. No one can guilt you into obedience. No one can sway you by threatening to withhold praise. You become free, and freedom is the greatest strength a person can have. The moment you stop needing people's permission to live boldly is the moment you step into your real power. That's when you start acting from clarity instead of insecurity, from conviction instead of desperation. The unstoppable mindset is built on this foundation. I know who I am, I know what I stand for, and I will not trade that for applause. When you live this way, you no longer chase acceptance, you attract respect. People may not always like you, but they will always know you cannot be broken because you refuse to let their approval decide your worth. Most people spend their lives chasing comfort. They want the soft bed, the easy routine, the familiar patterns that never challenge them. They believe comfort equals happiness, but comfort is actually the slow death of potential. Comfort keeps you small, predictable, and average. The unstoppable mindset refuses to settle in that space. Growth is the oxygen of the strong, and they seek it out even when it burns, even when it's inconvenient, even when it demands sacrifice. They understand that progress is born in discomfort, in stretching beyond what feels safe and stepping into what feels uncertain. Every time you choose comfort over growth, you reinforce weakness. You let yourself avoid the challenge, and in doing so, you also avoid the transformation that comes with it. But when you choose growth, you walk into rooms where you don't yet belong, you take on challenges you don't yet feel ready for, and you deliberately put yourself in situations where you must evolve or fall behind. That constant exposure to the uncomfortable becomes the training ground for mental toughness. Unstoppable people don't wait for growth to happen by accident. They pursue it. They make decisions that deliberately stretch their limits. They put themselves in circles that challenge them to rise higher, not circles that make them feel superior. They set goals that scare them because they know if a goal doesn't intimidate them, it's not big enough. And when they feel the urge to back down into the comfort zone, they remind themselves that nothing extraordinary is ever built there. The danger of comfort is that it tricks you into thinking you're safe, but in reality, it's making you weaker. Comfort convinces you that you're fine as you are, that there's no reason to push harder, and that tomorrow is always an option. But tomorrow doesn't show up for those who waste today. Growth demands urgency, it demands courage, and it demands a willingness to walk straight into the discomfort that most people spend their lives avoiding. The unstoppable rise because they are committed to growth, even when it feels unbearable. They are willing to be uncomfortable every single day because they know that every stretch, every hard choice, every disciplined action compounds into a version of themselves that cannot be broken. While others choose the easy path and stay the same year after year, they keep outgrowing everyone around them. That is the true cost of greatness. Comfort must be sacrificed, and those who understand that are the ones who end up untouchable. Being unstoppable is not about walking through life untouched by pain, rejection, or loss. It's not about pretending you're immune to fear or that failure never stings. It's about what you decide to do when those moments come for you, because they will. Life will test you, people will betray you, dreams will collapse right in front of you. And in those moments, you will have two choices: stay down and let the world define you, or rise up and define yourself. That is the essence of the unstoppable mindset. It's not built in your victories, it's forged in your ability to keep moving when everything inside you wants to quit. The truth is, the world respects strength, not excuses. You can talk about what you wanted, what you almost did, what you were too scared to try, but none of that builds power. What builds power is showing up again and again with grit and conviction, even when no one is watching, even when no one is clapping. Being unstoppable means you refuse to negotiate with weakness. You don't stop at one rejection, you don't fold after one failure, and you don't let criticism silence you. Every obstacle becomes fuel. Every setback becomes a stepping stone. Every scar becomes proof that you didn't back down. You must understand, most people will never do this. Most people will live their entire lives inside invisible cages built from fear, comfort, and the desire to be accepted. They'll never discover how far they could have gone, how much power they could have tapped into, because they surrendered to ease instead of embracing the fight. But if you choose to break that pattern, if you choose growth instead of comfort, discipline instead of approval, you become rare, and rare is powerful. Rare cannot be ignored. Rare carries a presence that shifts rooms, that commands respect, that refuses to be broken. When you live with this mindset, you stop waiting for perfect timing, for encouragement, for permission. You become self-driven, self-led, and self-approved. Your strength stops being conditional and it becomes permanent. You stop worrying about whether life will be fair, because you've already decided that no matter what life throws, you will endure, adapt, and keep going. That's what makes you unstoppable. And so the real question is no longer, do you want to be unstoppable? That's easy, everyone wants it. The real question is, are you willing to do what it takes to build it? Are you willing to step into fear, to turn failure into training, to choose discipline when emotions betray you, to stop begging for approval, and to sacrifice comfort for growth? Because the moment you say yes to those choices, you begin rewiring your mind into something unbreakable. And when that shift happens, there is nothing, no failure, no fear, no rejection that can stop you from becoming who you were always meant to be.